Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at Am I the Butthole? There's lots of different crazy stories here today, so I'm not going to pick out a particular one to tell you about. You're just going to have to listen if you want to get in on the absolute drama. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. First up, am I the butthole for declining to fix the errors I made in a blanket I crocheted for someone and taking it back instead? I made a blanket for my sister-in-law, Amanda. I was able to give it to her last weekend. She asked for it in a certain colours. I didn't have any other projects on my list to do, so I was happy to make it for her. I had most of the colours already too, so it worked out. I go back and forth from crocheting stuff. I've been working on crocheting a bag for the last 5 months. It should not take that long, by the way. I just really struggle to keep interest in one project at a time. When I gave it to her, she was excited and she started to look it over. I figured it was to see how it was put together since she doesn't crochet. After a little bit, she said that she loved the blanket, but she couldn't help but notice some of the little mistakes I made along the way. I asked her what she meant, and she pointed out some things like I'd accidentally done 1 row of striping instead of 3 for one section, I'd switched to the wrong colour and threw off a pattern at some point, etc. But listen to this. There is a folklore essentially around crochet projects and knitted projects, and the folklore basically goes something like this. With every project, you should leave in a purposeful mistake so that the project doesn't take a little piece of your soul every time, or something like that. I can't remember it exactly, and it's basically to allow that little piece of your soul to escape back to you. So yeah. Unless you want a soul blanket, Amanda, pack it in. I mean, I wouldn't mind a blanket of souls. She handed it back to me and told me that she loves my progress with it and couldn't wait to see the finished project. I told her that it was finished. She looked down at it and said that it wasn't done until it was perfect. Oh my goodness, you ungrateful mare. And I'd made several mistakes that I could easily go back to correct. I was honestly dumbfounded by this. I hate the way perfectionists try to force their quirk onto others. I made this blanket for her, for free, out of my own free time because I love her. I told her that, and she said she knows and she loves me for it, but that she wouldn't be able to use it because she wouldn't be able to focus on anything but the mistakes. I said whatever and took the blanket back and said that if she doesn't want it, I'll keep it. She looked surprised and said that she does want it. She just wants my best work and not something half-arsed. I told her that if she thinks me crocheting a whole effing blanket and making minimal errors is half-arsing it, I'd rather just keep the blanket. Do you know what you should do? I have a pattern as well. This is another project that I've half worked on and hasn't been completed in the 2 years that I started it. But it's a blanket, essentially, that just has a load of swear words crocheted into it. Make her that one. I could send you the pattern. Get in touch. She's so upset with me and told me I was acting ridiculous and that it wouldn't take me long to fix it. If you know anything about crochet, you know that if I made an error on row 36 of a 1,115 row blanket, that's essentially starting over again. Yeah, it is. You can't just go back and tweak it. That's not how it works. Crocheting takes so long as well. It's definitely something you do for passion and not for quick results. Anyway, I come to you all, LOL. Am I the butthole? Absolutely not. Honestly, I'd be fuming. I'd be like, you ungrateful little witch. I'm not making anything for you ever again. I'd be so annoyed. And I just think it's utterly disrespectful to receive a handmade item and then be like, that's not perfect, so take it back. If you want perfect, go to the shop. Or don't expect it to be done for free and pay for it. If you're paying for it, well, then you get perfection. And then down in the comments, Owls and Cardinals says, you aren't being ridiculous. She definitely was. Super not the butthole. What she might be missing is that there is no fixing an error like you described in crochet. You either start over or pull out the stitches back to the point of error to resume from there. She couldn't be a gracious recipient of a heartfelt, thoughtful, homemade gift, and that shows you something about her. If she requires perfection, that's pretty incompatible with homemade. Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, super dismissive and presumptuous of her not to prioritise the hard work and hours that went into making it. Yeah, you can easily smash out 70 hours on making a big blanket like that. Easily, if not more. Given that she's a member of your family and you probably don't want a long-term rift, I would hold my ground but try to diffuse it. Just explain repeatedly, if necessary, that it's too bad your gift didn't work out, but no hard feelings. Do not feel forced to start again or to fix the blanket in any way. Try not to create drama or judgment over her for it. Believe me, her response to this whole thing stands alone, and don't offer to make her anything in the future, that's for sure. Not the butthole, not the butthole, not the butthole. Edit to add, by no hard feelings, I want to clarify that I'm focusing primarily on how I suggest OP express her feelings to others in the family, for the purpose of peacemaking. My least favourite saying or sentence in the world. Keep the peace, make the peace. Peacemaking. It's all bollocks to me. My personal take is that sister-in-law's actions stand alone, and if OP keeps it unemotional and doesn't engage in any back and forth about it, that would be best. I would certainly be offended by sister-in-law's words and behaviours though. Now, this one is actually an update for a video that I posted the other day. I will try and link it on here. I haven't ever done that yet, but I will try and link it in one of those little info tabs that pops up for you so you can listen to the original. However, I will recap it just very briefly. Basically, OP had had a miscarriage, had been avoiding family events for a long time because they just couldn't face it. I think the sister might have been pregnant or was pregnant or had just given birth at the time, and essentially the sister, she had walked in on the sister saying something really nasty about her miscarriage, and this is where we're leaving off from essentially. Update: am I the butthole for leaving my dad's birthday dinner after overhearing my sister's comment about my miscarriage? And of course, a trigger warning for talk of miscarriage. If that's something that you cannot deal with, then feel free to skip ahead. I will try and put a timestamp if I remember or figure out how to on where to skip ahead to. Hi everyone, I want to thank you all for the support and feedback on my last post. This update is mostly about a few different conversations that I had. I took your suggestions and called my dad, apologising for leaving early. He completely understood. We talked a bit and he asked if we could go out to lunch this week because he missed seeing me, so we made plans. I'm glad you're getting to go and see your dad because I bet considering family events have been such a big deal for you guys, it's been hard not spending time with them. Then I talked to my husband and told him that I didn't think I could have stayed and still thought leaving was the best thing for us. He apologised for invalidating my feelings and said he would have liked for us to spend time with my family, but not at the cost of my mental well-being. He offered to call my brother, not the one who texted me, to set up a play date for our son with his kids so my son could see some of his cousins, which I appreciated. Later, my mum called and I guess my dad told her we talked, and she apologised for taking so long to call, saying she felt ashamed and she didn't know how to talk to me. She said she wouldn't have let Eva say that if they'd have known that I was there and that she didn't mean it. Wait. Hold on a minute. How would the mum have known? Does that mean that Eva has been saying stuff like that before? Behind the OP's back? I mean, probably, let's be honest. Eva has been hormonal and frustrated, and my mum thought calling her out at that point would have just made things worse. Spineless. She felt terrible for hurting my feelings. I thanked her for the apology, but told her I needed more time before meeting her. After this, Eva texted me, and I wanted to hear her out, so I called. She apologised a lot and emphasised that she didn't mean it and regretted saying it, attributing it to the same thing that my mum had. Apparently, she and brother-in-law also had a big fight about it when they got home, which delayed her talking to me. I mean, I'm not being funny, but I really have a feeling from what the mum has said and then what she said that this shit's been said before, and it's not acceptable. I think that the sister is trying to like gloss over just how nasty it was, what she said. We had a long conversation in which she confessed that she had a few early miscarriages before they even told us that she was pregnant, but she felt she had to keep smiling through it, which made her slightly resent how I was handling my situation. I told her that I was hurt and keeping my distance so she could enjoy her pregnancy. She felt bad for misunderstanding and thinking I was shutting everyone out. I mean, even if she was, then that's fine too. Everyone deals with things differently. If you've had a miscarriage and you are struggling to cope and you feel you need to shut yourself off from everyone to stay right and get right in your head, what's so wrong about that? Just because the OP's sister didn't do that doesn't mean that they can't. I assured her that this wasn't the case. I hadn't let anyone in, and with her being pregnant, it was tough for me. I wished her luck, but told her I hoped she could understand why I didn't think I could be there with her. She was sad, but agreed. We talked more, and by the end, things were better. I texted my family group chat with a long message about how I was feeling and why I would be taking space from meetups, because I feel I need it after this. While the apologies eased my mind, I can see myself forgiving them in the future. I am still hurting, and I think right now I need to spend time with my husband and my son and handle my grief with a professional. Thank you all again for reading this, and I hope this answers your questions about what happened next. Hope you have a fantastic day. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you know, if there is a way you can reconcile with your family over this, then that is great and fine and dandy. I kind of feel like the sister just tried to brush it under the rug a little bit there. I absolutely do not agree with saying, well, I did this when I had my miscarriage, so I think that you should do it too. Everyone handles grief differently. Miscarriage absolutely causes grief. It is the same as losing any other family member. Obviously, it's a little bit different in its own ways too, but the grief is the same, you know? In fact, sometimes it feels even worse because you feel hollow afterwards. Like there is an actual physical emptiness that goes along with it. There is something that was there and then it's gone and you feel physically hollow as well as mentally, which is really hard to get your brain around and bring yourself back to a place where you feel good again. And I would have thought that the OP's sister would understand that. I appreciate that she's apologised and I think that's great and I hope they can move on from it. And I think therapy is a fantastic idea for the OP. But I really don't like the way the sister-in-law just tried to say, well, this happened to me, so I should be excused for the way I reacted. I don't believe in that at all. But she apologised and OP has accepted the apology, so who am I to judge? And then down in the comments, AB White Rabbit says, I'm glad you're taking the time to heal and that your family is supporting you in this. And then Admore707 says, yeah, it's awesome that her family is stepping up and being supportive while she heals. It's going to take time. And then Bated Breath says, yeah, this is the kind of update I love to read. Next post, am I the butthole for refusing to do the morally correct thing? Death brings out the absolute worst in people. My father passed away without a will. Bank assets had POD to me. Power of something, maybe? I'm not sure. I've never had to deal with that sort of stuff. I've never even been to a funeral, believe it or not. In my 33 years, I have never been to a funeral. Avoid them like the plague. I will say goodbye in my own way if someone I know passes. I do not like them. They cause me anxiety. Everything else goes through probate. I am an only child. My parents were married before I was born, separated when I was young, and divorced when I was in my 30s. After his death, 2 of his siblings and their family claimed I wasn't his biological child and they were entitled to estate. Gross. Gross. They asked me to do the morally correct thing and gift it to them. My goodness, people are just absolute shitebags, aren't they, sometimes? Probate was contested and ruled in my favour, but they are still upset, claiming they will file civil lawsuits until the truth is revealed. I just say to them, go ahead then. Waste your own money, guys. Have fun. Am I the butthole for refusing to give them anything and not entertaining any conversations related to this? My father was involved in my life. There is no doubt in my mind that I am his child. Yeah, no, I wouldn't entertain it either. I'd just say, no, get stuffed. Honestly, money is the biggest just poison on society, I feel. It's insane. People act like absolute nut jobs over a few pennies, and I don't understand it. Like, I don't get it. Down in the comments, Avocado Duck says, were you born during the marriage and were your parents straight? If so, in most states in the US, that's the end of it. A child born during marriage is the child of married partners. And then the OP replies and says, yes, born 6 years after their marriage, one of the siblings is claiming that he is my biological father. Oh, what an absolute turd of a person. My father kept me away from his side of the family until I was an adult. I wonder why. Probate allowed them to contest if they had proof. There is none. I hadn't seen my uncle in over 40 years until the day I had to go view with my father before funeral. Yeah, clearly your uncle's an absolute piece of poo and your dad knew that very well and kept you away from him. I wonder why. Am I the butthole for not walking my daughter's friend home? My daughter, Rowan, 11, recently hosted her very first sleepover. She invited her best friend, Amanda, almost 11, who lives just across the street and 2 houses down from us. They did all the classic sleepover activities, pizza, popcorn, and my stomach just growled. I do apologise if you heard that. A movie, face masks, and nail polish. Everything was going perfectly until around 11 p.m, when Rowan came into our bedroom to let me know Amanda was homesick and wanted to go home. I went to check on Amanda, and while she assured me she was having fun, she really wanted her mum. Fair enough, I texted her mum Susan to let her know what was happening, and she said it was fine for Amanda to come home. So Amanda packed up her things and I walked her to the porch. From there, I watched her walk the short distance to her house and go inside safely before heading back inside myself. I think I know what's gonna come next. Don't you? The next day, I ran into Susan while she was out walking in the neighbourhood. I asked how Amanda was doing and, well, Susan was furious. Apparently, Amanda had been upset about leaving early, but Amanda asked to leave early, what? But what really got Susan's blood boiling was that I didn't walk her to the door. She berated me for letting her child walk home alone at night in the cold with the potential of God knows what happening to her. For context, we live in a quiet cul-de-sac in a safe neighbourhood. I stood on the porch the entire time and watched Amanda walk into the house before going inside. Amanda didn't seem scared or hesitant, and she never asked me to walk with her. To be honest, it didn't even occur to me that this would be an issue. When I was a kid, I would walk all over by myself. Sure, I know times have changed, but I genuinely thought this was fine. Susan didn't see it that way. She's still furious and has been telling neighbours I put Amanda in danger. Despite my apologies to both her and Amanda, she's banned the girls from playing together. Now I'm left wondering, was I wrong not to walk Amanda to her front door? Am I the butthole? Being a parent of a child of very similar age, I personally would have walked Amanda to the door. Personally. Although I do understand that with her being literally opposite you by a few doors, you could realistically watch her walk across the road into the house, knowing that she's perfectly safe and you've watched her the whole time. It's not like she's walking all the way down the street. She's literally walking over the road and a little to the left, you know? So I think that Susan is being an absolute bellend here and making a big mountain out of a molehill, especially for banning them from playing together. Susan sounds like a bit of a job's worth, to be honest. See, I've never had any of these issues. I've never let my kids go on sleepovers, and I never will. So I'm not putting their safety in someone else's hands. And the reason for that is there's so many times these days where you hear about it on the news. on socials, whatever, where people are either relaying their experiences of being inappropriately touched or something when they've been on a sleepover at someone else's house by their parents, their brothers, siblings, whatever. And I just don't see sleepovers as that important to risk that happening, you know? But to be fair, my kids aren't interested anyway. Obviously, my one child has got neurodivergent needs, so they would never stay at someone else's house. They are completely in a routine, need their creature comforts, and would freak out if they didn't have them. And then the other one says that it's not cool anymore to do sleepovers. So yeah, they just hang out in the day because sleepovers aren't cool anymore, apparently. Thank you for all the support. Here's some additional context. That night, it was just Amanda staying over, no other friends. I'm married and my husband was home. Susan is also married, but her husband travels often and happened to be out of town that night. She has another child, Matthew, 5M. She told me that if I had let her know I wasn't planning to walk Amanda home, she would have woken Matthew up and come to get her herself. Susan, I think you're being a bit silly there, my love. One of the neighbours siding with Susan mentioned that I should have known how protective she is of her kids, especially since Amanda is typically a shy and fearful child. I admit I did know this about Amanda, but my kids are the total opposite, so it wasn't even on my radar to walk her all the way home. Maybe it should have been. If Amanda had asked me to walk her home, I absolutely would have. I can understand, to an extent, Susan being upset if she truly felt I put her child in a dangerous situation. I thought this would have blown over after a couple of days, but this happened in the beginning of December. Wait, when was this posted? 4 days ago when I saved it, which I saved it, I think, Thursday or Friday. So yeah, this ain't going away anytime soon, apparently. French G here says in the comments, not the butthole, Susan is having a hard time letting her daughter become independent. And that's probably why Amanda got homesick and wanted to leave early in the first place. It's a pattern of fear, retreat, rescue between mother and daughter where the overprotective parent makes the kid clingy and scared. Susan's overblown reaction to the walk home is just one more way of telling herself and her daughter that the world is not safe for her daughter without her in it, aka making herself, the parent, feel like the indispensable saviour. This narrative needs a villain, and you have become that villain. The thing to do now is let it blow over, and hopefully she'll relax or someone else will tell her that she's overreacting, and she'll eventually be able to hear it. It sucks most for the girls' friendships, and for Amanda in life more generally. She's going to have to assert herself at some point in that relationship. As for the neighbours' possible judgment towards you, just be firm that you did the right, responsible thing, and eventually they will probably see the side of Susan for themselves. Yeah, to be honest, the neighbours are probably just getting involved in the drama and just being a bit nosy. Just be like, look, this is none of your business, quite frankly. Move along, please. Stop getting involved. And then Bated Breath says, yeah, and most likely Susan expressed all of her feelings to Amanda. No one walked you home? You poor thing. You must have been so scared. Anything could have happened to you. And bingo, bango, now Amanda is afraid to leave the house after dark. Oh yeah, I bet she did. I will put money on it that she did. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, I understand being protective of your kids. Like I say, I won't let mine go to sleepovers because I'm very protective and I don't trust other people. I don't trust other parents. There's only a few parents that I really, really trust. But obviously I will say they're allowed to, sleep over at grandparents, their aunties and what have you, because they're people I know well and have known for years and years and years. So I know well and I trust, Obviously you can never get rid of all risk. All I'm saying is I can understand being protective. However, sometimes you can be a little too extreme to be like, oh yeah, they can't cross the road and go a little to the left whilst you watch them. Like that's weird. That's a bit much. Although personally, again, if it was a kid staying at my house, I would probably just walk them across the road. I don't know. What do you reckon? Am I the butthole for refusing to let my roommate's cat into my room after it apologised? I'm sure it did. I, 27F, share an apartment with my roommate, Lily, 26F, who has a cat named Muffin. Muffin is adorable, but has a habit of sneaking into my room and knocking things over. Cat's best thing to do that. They love it. They love it. The best thing you can do is get like blue tack and stuff and like really strong, like what do they call it, museum putty or something, and you just stick anything down you don't want knocked over, and it works so well. And it's kind of also funny watching them get frustrated trying to knock it over and it won't go. Last week, I came home to find Muffin had somehow gotten in and destroyed a puzzle I had spent hours working on. Pieces were scattered everywhere, some were chewed up, and one was entirely lost. I was furious. I told Lily that Muffin needed to stay out of my room, and she agreed, but she also said that Muffin felt bad and wanted to apologise. Muffin did not feel bad. Muffin absolutely did not feel bad. Muffin thinks they had the perfect right to do that. I laughed it off, assuming she was joking. The next day, I found a little note on my desk in Lily's handwriting that said, "I'm sorry, Muffin." Along with it was a cat treat. I thought it was funny, but didn't change my stance. Since then, Lily has been passive-aggressively saying things like, "Muffin's trying to make things right," or "You're holding a grudge against a cat." She even suggested that I let Muffin into my room supervised so she could earn back my trust. I told her no, and that I wasn't interested in giving her cat another chance to destroy my stuff. Now she's calling me heartless for not accepting Muffin's apology, and is acting like I'm being unreasonable. Am I the butthole here? No, absolutely not. The best thing you can do if you've got a pet that likes to destroy things in a particular room when you're not there is keep that room out of bounds. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. My youngest child's bedroom is out of bounds to my cats. I have 3 of the little terrors, and I understand entirely how insane they can be. My youngest is 1.5, and the eldest cat I have is 10. So, and even the 10-year-old cat still thinks that he's a kitten and tries to destroy things if you let him. So they're not allowed in my youngest room because of all the Lego, because they will chew it up. And then it's not only destroying the Lego, it's also a danger to them, because if they swallow it, it can cause dangerous obstructions. So if Muffin is getting into her room, into OP's room, and chewing things up, then OP should definitely keep her out of that room. If they want to let her in for supervised access to the room, sound. Again, when my youngest is home, I do let them have the door open and the cats can come and go when they're in there, because they're old enough now to be able to keep an eye on the cats and what they're doing in there and make sure they're not chewing up the blemmin' Lego. But when they're not there, I'm always saying, make sure you shut the door, make sure you have shut it properly, because then you get rid of the problem. You know, there are many other rooms in the house the cats can go and play in. They don't need access to that one particular room. And this is coming from an absolute cat lover. I love my cats, absolutely adore them. They are the best thing since sliced bread to me, even if they do terrorize my house. And then down in the comments, Infinity Felinity says, find a new letter from Muffin in which she denounces the previous letter as a fake, boasts over her lack of remorse, and vows to do it again. Confront Lily with it. If Lily persists, keep finding increasingly sketchy letters from Muffin as she steadily broadens her nefarious ambitions. Really commit to the scenario. Out crazy cat person her. Obviously not the butthole. I love cats. Username checks out. But they are unapologetic little gremlins that do what they want. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. If you don't want Muffin in your room, then there is zero valid reason for Lily to keep demanding she have access to it. That said, you could have a lot of fun with this if you wanted to. And then the hat on the cat comments saying, or send Lily a letter from Muffin. I am not reading this in the stupid cat voice, by the way. I'm not doing it in the stupid baby voice. I'm going to read it, but I am not doing it in the stupid baby voice. Dear Lily, please don't write letters from me and say I'm sorry for damaging OP's property. I'm not sorry because I was just being a cat. It is not fair of you to expect me to understand and respect human concepts like personal property. If I see something fun left out, of course, I want to play. It's my nature. As humans, it's your job to keep things safely away from me, not put it on me to know what puzzles are and what all the little pieces have to stay perfectly organised and can't be chewed on. I did nothing wrong. If OP doesn't want me to play with her property, OP needs to keep her door shut so I'm not put in that situation. Also, it's not safe for me to be let in places with small things I could chew on. Yeah, exactly. P.S. I want my treat back. OP didn't even eat it. Yes, get that treat back. Am I the butthole for refusing to demote my dog after my sister gave her baby the same name? I'm trying not to laugh while I'm reading that because it already sounds ridiculous. I, 26F, have a dog named Charlie. Charlie is a golden retriever I adopted 4 years ago, and he's my best buddy. My sister, Emily, 29F, recently had her first child, a baby boy. She and her husband named him Charlie. At first, I thought it was funny and really didn't think much of it. But then Emily pulled me aside during a family gathering and said it was confusing and disrespectful for me to keep calling my dog Charlie now that her son has the same name. She asked me to rename my dog. Oh my God. Shut up, sister-in-law, you silly. I told her no. Charlie has been his name for 4 years. He knows it, responds to it, and it's on all of his paperwork. Changing it would be weird for him. And for me. She got really upset and said it's not fair for her son to share a name with a dog, especially in family settings. Then why would you name your child after a dog? Or give them a name you know that someone in your family has a dog named that, if it bothers you so much. I'll tell you why, because they're entitled and thought that they could demand it be changed, and it would be so. She thinks it'll lead to jokes and confusion as her son grows up. My parents have weighed in, and while my dad says it's ridiculous to expect me to change my dog's name, my mum says I should consider it to keep the peace. Ah, I hate that saying. Now Emily's barely speaking to me and a few family members think I'm being stubborn. I have no idea how I'm in the wrong here. The world's gone crazy. Oh, it has, my friend. Yes, it has. I love my dog and I didn't name him to spite anyone. I also think it's not my fault that they chose a name already in use in the family. Am I the butthole? No. Absolutely not. Sister-in-law sounds extraordinarily entitled and delusional, to say the least. And then down in the comments, Glory of the 80s says, there was a post years ago about a guy who had a cat named Nigel and his sister, or roommate, started dating someone named Nigel. So they called the cat Nigel and the guy Human Nigel. Oh, I love that. Efficient Fish 14 says, my husband's uncle has the same name as our cat. Cat came with the name. No one has been confused when I talk about them either. And then Zia Fishinal says, God damn it, Uncle Cat name pooped on the floor. And then Ars Moriendi says, this actually happened to me when my dog Jenny, who wasn't feeling very well, crapped on the floor while my friend Jenny was over. Me yelling, Mom, Jenny just pooed on the floor. Mum yelling back, why on earth would she do that? Hilarity ensued. Oh, that's great. And then last post for the day. Am I the butthole for losing my crap and screaming at my girlfriend to get out of my house after what her stepbrother did? Trigger warning on this one for possible essay or attempted essay, especially on a minor. So if you can't deal with that, this is the last story anyway. Feel free to dip out now if that is what you need to do. Girlfriend was over at my place 2 weeks ago and we're both 20. She has a stepbrother who's 23. Before this, I'd only met him a few times and he seemed like a regular dude. She asked if it was okay for him to come over too for a couple of hours. I said, why not? He said he would get booze and pizza and my parents were away visiting relatives for the weekend, so I figured we could shoot the shite. I have a little sister who's 15. They came over and she stayed up in her room the entire time. We were all a bit tipsy and my girlfriend's stepbrother asked if he could use the washroom. I pointed him to the one down the hall. My girlfriend and I were preoccupied and didn't even realise how much time he was taking until we heard raised voices upstairs. We immediately went up to check what was going on and found my sister crying. If this is going where I believe it's going, oh my goodness. He would be swallowing his teeth, let's put it that way. Dude had gone up instead of using the washroom. My sister's door had been ajar, so apparently he walked into her room. All details I managed to wrangle from my crying sister, by the way. She was taken by shock and was trying to stay calm, but he wasn't leaving. He was trying to chat her up. She told him to GTFO and he closed the door behind him instead, which is why she started freaking out. Oh my goodness, imagine how scary that would be, being cornered by this drunk weirdo that you do not know in your own room and they are standing barricading the door closed essentially. She tried to get past him to open the door and he grabbed her, but she managed to open it anyway. I'd reached the landing by then, so he backed off. Oh, please tell me that you gave him a good hiding, because he certainly deserves it. And this leads back to that post that we were discussing before about the girl crossing the road. And when I said I wouldn't let my kids have sleepovers at someone else's house, this is why. Obviously, I was super effing miffed. There was a lot of screaming going on, lots of accusations. We were all drunk except for my sister. After getting the story from her, girlfriend's stepbrother was stuttering and deflecting. I'm pretty sure I threatened violence at some point. I'd do more than threaten. My girlfriend was trying to be the mediator. She said I had to calm down and couldn't fly off the handle based off of word of mouth. Oh, yeah, I hope she's not your girlfriend anymore, OP. But I was there. I saw my sister crying in panic. I know what she's like, and I know she wouldn't lie about something like this. Why would she? I told her stepbrother to get out of my house. My girlfriend kept saying we could sort this out and have a proper conversation, but I didn't see what conversation there was to be had. Eventually, she said, "What if my sister is lying?" In front of my sister's face. I asked her what on earth would make her think that, and she said she's a kid and could be making it up for attention. You ran up the stairs and found the guy in her bedroom. He had no reason to be there. What are you talking about, OP's girlfriend? You absolute feckin' idiot. Like the title said, I lost my crap. I told her to get the F out, and afterwards she kept calling me, but I ignored everything. The dust has settled a bit. I went over everything again with my little sister. She promised me it had happened the way she was telling me. She told me she was scared he was going to SA her. My girlfriend texted me this morning saying I shouldn't have raised my voice like that, and I scared her. I thought of apologising then, but she still hadn't said a word about apologising to my sister or addressing the issue with her stepbrother. I only replied that we had to talk, and she said there's nothing to talk about. There's no hard proof, in her words. And the stepbrother ended up doing nothing, so she told me she would deal with him and I should drop it. I don't know if I'm the butthole for the way I handled this. Maybe if cooler heads prevailed, this silent treatment wouldn't have happened, and we could have discussed everything. I don't know what to do from now on either. I love that girl. I don't want us to be over, so I want some advice on where to go from here, Dumper. Edit, thank you everyone who commented and left advice. I posted an update, and we will get into that, but we're going to read a few of the original comments first. So, the evil Satanist says a 23-year-old man should not chat up a 15-year-old girl, full stop. And then Fet Collector says, trying to R-word a 15-year-old. What grown-ass man manhandles a 15-year-old on his way to the bathroom? A predator. Yeah, exactly. And predators tend to be where you would least expect them to be. They get close to you. They get close to people who they know have kids, and then this is what happens. It's far too prevalent, and it's gone under the radar. And the thing is, people will go, oh, well, it never used to happen years ago. Yes, it did. It absolutely did. Listen to all the adults now that are opening up about the fact that these things happened to them when they were kids by their mum's boyfriend, or their dad's girlfriend's brother, or, you know, their uncles, their flipping, I don't know, their teachers. It happens, and it happens a lot. Because people are disgusting, unfortunately. A lot of people are disgusting, and they fly under the radar as if they are normal people. In fact, when I was growing up, before I even had kids or anywhere near was having kids, I was friends with this guy, and we were all friends in a friend group, and this one guy, he seemed so normal, whatever. Anyway, we fell out of touch. We didn't stay in touch. Life moves on, and that just happens, and I'm so glad we fell out of touch, because when my eldest was about 5, guess what happened? It came out in the news, he was in the local papers, that he'd got caught with over 10,000 indecent child pornography photos and videos on his computer. That's how close by and undetectable these predators can be. They're not some greasy weirdo licking the bars outside of a flaming school. They aren't that obvious. They fly under the radar. Everyone needs to be so vigilant. Anyone who's got kids, be so vigilant about who they are around and listen for cues. Kids will tell you things without thinking they're telling you, and you just got to listen up and hear them. Anyway, off of my fucking soapbox on that one. I do apologise. It's something I'm very passionate about. Like, you've got to really put the work in to keep your kids safe, because weirdos are everywhere. That girl Felicia says, not even on his way to the bathroom. OP said the bathroom was down the hall and the sister was upstairs. I completely skirted over that. I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, that's even worse then, that the bathroom wasn't even on the way. He went out of the way of the bathroom to specifically go to her room. Oh, what a creep and disgusting vile cretin. And then we have an update, and the OP says, first off, thanks everyone who commented on my previous post, link to the original. I tried to read as many comments as I could, and I got some great advice. My girlfriend asked me yesterday if we could talk in person. I agreed. We met at a public park. She showed up already looking on the verge of tears. Buttered Crumpet 09, your comment was goated. I basically said it word for word to her. Oh, I missed that comment. I didn't see that one. I wish I had. She let me speak and was silent for a long time. Before she said she was sorry for the way she had reacted. She told me that she had been drunk and panicked and hadn't been thinking clearly and was trying to stop it from becoming a fight. We discussed her stepbrother. She told me he has a weird streak. Oh, what a surprise. And acts oddly sometimes. She told me he genuinely could have made a mistake and didn't mean any harm. I asked why she'd gone upstairs in the first place and why he'd shut himself in with my sister on finding out he was in the wrong room. No answer. I bet there wasn't. I asked how she was so sure he had no perverted intentions. No answer. This woman, I swear, who in their right mind as a woman doesn't believe the young girl? You've just caught this disgusting grown man in her room. There is no margin of error here. He's been caught red flipping handed. Girlfriend's a weirdo for sticking up for him. Some of you suggested that the stepbrother might have had a history and even might have done something to her. I didn't outright say it, but I was implying it. I kept saying, what if he had gone further? What if he's assaulted someone before and you don't know about it, etc. I asked if there had been incidents like this before and how she could possibly downplay what happened. But again, at that point, she was too choked up to speak properly, so I don't think she could have answered even if she wanted to. Anyways, I wasn't there to listen to excuses or justifications, and I told her that. She asked me if we were over, and I said the only way we could move forward was if she apologised to my little sister and then stopped all contact with her stepbrother. I just don't see a scenario where my sister feels comfortable around him again. She told me she didn't want to lose me, but she couldn't do what I asked from her. So I told her, yes, we're done. Well done, OP. I'm so glad. You do not need to be having people like that around you or your sister. My parents came back this morning, by the way. Like I said, they had been out of town at a relative's place. I hadn't told them about this over the phone. I just said an incident had happened and I would explain when they got back. My sister asked me to speak to them on her behalf and I told them everything. My dad gave me a lot of shite, rightfully so. He said he wants to speak to my ex's parents about this and let them know what their son did. Police here are about as useful as tits on a bull. I never heard that one before. Oh my goodness. But we discussed it and we're going to file a report. Yeah, even if they're useless, file anyway. At least it's on paper then. Auto de noticia. Anyway, okay, I don't know what that means. I have no idea. I'm assuming then that that means that OP's not like in the UK or in the USA, so I would have no idea how the legal route would work over wherever they are. I highly doubt it would go anywhere, but at least it will be a record in the system. My sister is doing better. She was really shaken up and she asked if she could sleep in my parents' room or mine for a bit. We will probably arrange a therapy or counselling session for her and let her decide if she wants to continue. I'm going to take her bowling and then we'll get food. Just the two of us, so I can also apologise on my part. I feel upset and I feel guilty actually. I trusted my ex and me being naive put my little sister in danger. I've always thought I was a responsible person and this happening when I was supposed to be in charge is effing me up. I'm peed at myself, not gonna lie, but we move. Yeah, I understand that you would probably feel guilty because I bet OP's like, I bought this creep in the house. And I get why that would make you feel guilty. My favourite comments to read were the ones telling me what to do to the stepbrother. I don't even want to see his face again, but in case I do, someone let me know if you have a wood chipper lying around. Thanks again, everybody. Edit. Some things. People have asked if I can run a background check or something. I don't think it's legal for a civilian to do that in my country, Portugal. So then, I wouldn't have any idea how any of that would work, so I will hold my comments on the legal aspect there. And I don't know if I can request one. I'll see, though. Also, to everybody commenting about underage drinking, I was so confused. That's not a problem here. Yeah, no. In the UK, it's 18 that you're allowed to drink from, and I think in the US, it's 21, isn't it? So yeah, I can see why some people would have been like, you can't be drinking, but no. Other countries, it's fine, absolutely fine, over the age of like 16 or 18, some as early as 16. I won't be incriminating myself or anything by filing a report, so don't worry. And then down in the comments, some absolute legend has actually put the comment that Buttered Crumpet 09 had said that the OP had took a lot of advice from. They had said for OP to say this to the girlfriend. Hey girlfriend, this isn't about you and your feelings. Your adult, drunk stepbrother went into the bedroom of my underage teenage sister, shut the door behind him, and would not leave. The best thing that I could do was make him leave. Rather than being appalled and apologetic, you had the audacity to question whether my sister was being honest in front of her, at which point I lost my temper. How could you accuse her of that while seeing how upset she was? Even if you had doubts, that wasn't even vaguely the time or place. Since this happened, the only person you've cared about is yourself. You want an apology for me being angry and shouting, but not once have you apologised or asked about my sister. Again, this isn't about you, and I don't think this is going to work out since I want to protect my underage sister and you want to protect your feelings and your potential predator of a stepbrother. Am I sorry I raised my voice at you? Yes, but if ever a situation warranted it, it was then. And no, you've never seen me like this because I've never been in a position where a grown man shut himself in my sister's room and made her afraid that she was going to be SA'd. Now, we're done, and there's nothing left to say. That's what I'd send to her. She's a shite bag, and I'd bet he's done this shite before. Yeah, 100%. I feel like he's done it before. Like, to be so confident and so just to have the audacity to do that while there's other people up and about in the house is, it's freaky because it does ring that he's probably done this before. And on that note, we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you enjoyed, and if you made it all the way to the end, then I appreciate you very much. Another long one for today. I waffled. I do apologise. So if you'd like to leave a like and subscribe, I'd appreciate you very, very much. Other than that, I'm going to get off, and I hope you have a really good rest of your day. Goodbye.